friendly with the ladies on TheView, but they didn't say anything about this week. Nothing. You know, because it's never been their thing to weigh in on the issues.
Look, did y'all really think we weren't going to talk about Jimmy Kimmel? I mean, have you watched the show over the last 29 seasons? Yes. So you know, no one silences.
Recently, Whoopi and TheView seem to be in panic mode, and it's quite entertaining. Just last week, Bill Maher called them out for avoiding discussion about Jimmy Kimmel's situation, suggesting they were too afraid to address it directly.
Friendly with the ladies on TheView, but they didn't say anything about this week. Nothing. You know, because it's never been their thing to weigh in on the issues. It's just, you know, it's just an upbeat party show. That's why they hired people named Joy and Sunny and Whoopi. But no, girls, let me go out strong, okay? It won't kill you. I promise. It's happened to me, and I may go out after this show. We don't know.
TheView has always kept up with major headlines ever since the show began. Just a few weeks ago, I shared a clip of a former panelist admitting that sometimes they only get a few hours to prepare before diving into controversial topics. That's why it surprised everyone when, immediately after Jimmy Kimmel's suspension, TheView went live and acted as if they had no idea their own network, ABC, had benched him. Bill Maher called them out for it, saying they were too afraid to jeopardize their comfortable positions by mentioning Kimmel at all. But here's the twist, TheView finally broke their silence, and what they said might shock you.
Really think we weren't going to talk about Jimmy Kimmel? I mean, have you watched the show over the last 29 seasons? Yes. So you know, no one silences us. And to all my friends in Italy who reached out, you have to know it's okay, we're still here, we're still broadcasting. And when the news broke last week about Jimmy Kimmel's suspension, we took a breath to see if Jimmy was going to say anything about it first. We did the same thing with...
Now, that's simply not true, and I'll explain why TheView finally decided to address Jimmy Kimmel in just a moment. The idea that they held off to hear what Kimmel had to say, and that they supposedly did the same during the Colbert scandal, is pure fiction. Let's go back for a moment. Right after Colbert was fired, TheView wasted no time. They didn't wait for any official statement. They jumped in immediately with their takes. And really, since when have Whoopi or her panel ever held back their opinions for anyone? Exactly. Never. So, Whoopi's claim doesn't hold up. But enough delay, let's roll the clip and see what actually happened.
Live here today, and we're getting into it now. Okay? So to be clear, you cannot like a show. Now, I want to make sure I got this right. To be clear, you cannot like a show and it can go off the air. Someone can say something they shouldn't and get taken off the air. But the government cannot apply pressure to force someone to be silent.
Did you notice how unusually cautious Whoopi was while reading that statement? It was almost comical. She looked nervous, like one wrong word could land her in trouble or even cost her the job. Since when has Whoopi Goldberg ever been precise about reading from a teleprompter? Exactly, never. So let's drop the tough act, because that careful delivery told the real story, and here's the twist. Jimmy Kimmel is already back on ABC after what now appears to have been just a temporary suspension. TheView knew he was returning, which is exactly why they finally spoke up. They only found their courage once the coast was clear. But Bill Maher, he didn't let up, he kept roasting TheView for their sudden change of heart.
Show lined up, it's going to be great. It's called Morning Wood with James Wood.
Maher didn't hold back. He openly teased TheView, suggesting they might be next in line after Jimmy's suspension, and possibly replaced with fresh programming. And honestly, I had the same thought. Now, to be clear, I'm not calling for TheView to be cancelled. Like it or not, they've carved out a lasting spot in daytime television, but here's the issue: they often shoot from the hip without verifying the facts. They'll twist a headline, inflate a scandal, and present it as absolute truth, before the story even settles. That's not courage. That's recklessness. If anything, this situation should serve as a wake-up call. No one's saying they need to disappear. But maybe it's time they realize that credibility still matters. Because if they keep playing fast and loose with the truth, Maher's prediction might not just be a joke, it might be a glimpse of what's ahead, and Maher didn't stop there. He had a few words for Jimmy Kimmel, too.
Right, we don't agree on that. He didn't lose his job for it. He said the MAGA crowd was trying to characterize the assassin as anything but one of them, because the 22-year-old kid, his family was MAGA. As if a 22-year-old with a trans girlfriend never rebelled against their family. I mean, but was he on the left? I don't know that either. And I hate to do this. I'm tipping the end of the show, which I work so hard on to keep a secret from the rest of the show. But it's too relevant. What I'm talking about at the end, I'm going to have to say now, which is that it is a fool's errand to try to say that these nuts who do these...
Thank you, and credit where it's due. Maher is practically the only voice on the left willing to acknowledge the obvious: Jimmy was wrong. While most comedians bent over backwards to defend Kimmel, insisting his comments weren't offensive, Maher cut through the noise. He openly said that Jimmy crossed the line, but also argued he shouldn't lose his job over it. And honestly, he's right on both counts. Kimmel shouldn't have been fired, and technically, he wasn't. What he received was more of a slap on the wrist, a temporary suspension disguised as punishment. Let's be real, that suspension wasn't just discipline. It was ABC's way of saving face, appearing to hold him accountable while fully planning his return. Maher called it exactly as it was, and that kind of honesty, rare as it may be, is what sets him apart from the rest.
Doing video games with furries. He was on a game called Furry Shades of Gay 3. This kid is in his basement with VR goggles on, getting virtually ass-fucked by a cartoon wombat? And you're gonna put politics into this?
Music, Maher kept the pressure on with sharp, subtle jabs at Jimmy Kimmel, especially for trying to pin the incident on MAGA without evidence. The message behind Maher's sarcasm was crystal clear: Jimmy should have done his homework instead of rushing to politicize a tragedy just to score cheap points. 5 minutes of fact-checking could have saved him from embarrassing himself on national television. Had Kimmel paused, he would have noticed the incident didn't fit any political narrative, no MAGA ties, no ideological motive, just a disturbed individual. But in his eagerness to ride the anti-MAGA wave, he jumped in headfirst without facts. That's why Maher's mockery hit so hard, it rang true. Kimmel's knee-jerk reaction wasn't just careless, it exposed him as reckless and partisan. In the end, Maher wasn't merely poking fun at Jimmy, he was sending a reminder to everyone: facts matter more than spin.
An outpatient who should not be out. But you have the right to be wrong, or to have any opinion you want. That's what the First Amendment is all about. I was defending it last week on this show against what they're doing in England against the left. Come on, guys.
Okay, let me stop here for a moment and break this down. The real reason Jimmy Kimmel was taken off late-night TV wasn't just about what he said, it was about money. The minute he dropped those anti-MAGA comments, Disney, ABC's parent company, saw its stock plummet. We're not talking a trivial dip. Reports suggest Disney lost about 2%, which equals nearly $4 billion wiped off its market value in just a few hours. That kind of hit sends shockwaves through the boardroom. So ABC didn't suspend Kimmel out of moral outrage or principle, they did it to stop the bleeding. It was pure damage control. When billions are at stake, loyalty to a TV host becomes secondary to calming freaked-out shareholders. Kimmel wasn't simply punished, he was sacrificed to protect Disney's bottom line.
Antifa is a broad designation with no identifiable leader and no observable plan, like the Democrats. So Jimmy, let me just say, pal, you did a great, funny show for 2 decades. You should be proud of that. If this firing goes for you the way it did for me, you'll get...
Maher couldn't finish his monologue without taking aim at the Democratic Party, and honestly, who could blame him? Ever since last year's crushing election defeat, the DNC has looked like a shadow of its former self. What used to be a polished political machine now resembles a circus scrambling just to stay visible. Their relevance in the national conversation is fading, and it shows that there's no clear leader to rally around. No unified strategy. No consistent message. Just noise. Instead, we're seeing a party leaning heavily on theatrics, quick stunts, and headline-chasing antics to keep the base engaged. That's why Maher's critique landed so effectively. It pointed out the obvious: the Democratic Party isn't leading the discourse anymore. It's chasing it, fumbling its identity, and waiting for anyone, to step up and take charge.
He is letting the so-called comedy show return after a week's suspension. Some broadcasters are refusing to let his show back on air. Nexstar Media Group, which is the largest local TV broadcasting company in the US, announced that its stations will focus on continuing to produce local news and other programming relevant to their respective markets. What good news. Look, the company says, "We made a decision last week to preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live following what ABC referred to as Mr. Kimmel's ill-timed and insensitive comments at a critical time in our national discourse. We stand by that decision, pending assurance that all parties are committed to fostering an environment of respectful, constructive dialogue."
Now, here's where it gets interesting. Some media outlets are hesitating to bring Jimmy Kimmel back because they worry it could hurt their financial interests. That hesitation could spell trouble for ABC's bottom line, especially if partner networks that normally pay to air Jimmy Kimmel Live pulled back. When money's involved, hesitation is never good news, but beyond the dollars, there's a bigger lesson. This reluctance shows that both audiences and corporate players are starting to lose patience with the endless anti-mega-woke grandstanding. For years, networks assumed pushing that narrative was safe, profitable, and untouchable. Now, the cracks are showing. Viewership is slipping, advertisers are cautious, and media partners aren't eager to align with Kimmel's controversies. It's not just about one late-night host, it's a clear signal that the cultural landscape is already shifting.
After Sinclair, the broadcasting company that makes up America's largest ABC affiliate groups, announced that it would be preempting Jimmy Kimmel Live across ABC affiliate stations and replacing it with news programming. And you know what? They know that the audience has had enough of Jimmy Kimmel. Let's just look back at some of his comedy content. Here he is celebrating when they tried to censor Donald Trump.
Trump has been suspended from Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and even Snapchat. But don't worry, Mr. President, there are still plenty of apps you do have access to. You still have Spotify to drown out the sound of millions of people cheering as you leave. You still have Pet Finder since you're on the outs with Mike Pence. You have Cameo, which will soon be your primary source.
So, what does all of this really tell us? Jimmy Kimmel's suspension, Bill Maher's brutal jabs, and The View's shaky defense all point to a bigger story than a late-night host tripping over his words. This is about power, money, and a culture reaching its breaking point. Disney didn't suspend Kimmel out of morality, they did it because billions vanished in a single day. The View only spoke up when it was safe, proving that their so-called boldness was nothing more than staged bravado. Maher, love him or hate him, stood out as one of the few willing to call it as it is, even if it meant criticizing his own side, and now, even media networks are hesitant to carry Kimmel, fearing the backlash isn't worth the risk. The takeaway is clear, audiences are waking up, and the old playbook of woke theatrics isn't working anymore. That wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.